This program is brought to you by the friends and partners of Elijah's Path to Healing Foundation.
Tracy and Elijah's Path to Healing has been forged by resilience and horses.
Yeah, good boy.
And they're bringing that healing to others through their nonprofit, Elijah's Path to Healing Foundation.
So that's what this is all about, helping people get through some tough times.
For next,
With this gorgeous, gorgeous animal.
I'm Lori Lizarraga.
Hi, and welcome to the Path to Healing Show. My name is Elijah Boone.
And I'm Tracy Boone.
And today we have a very special guest with us. We have Kim Scipione. And Mom has a bio for you guys to hear. So,
Well, Kim is a dear friend, first of all. It was a miracle on how we met her. But anyway, she is a mother of five. She's a really friend to our family. But most importantly, she is a licensed therapist with 2 doctorates, one in education and the other one in clinical psychology. And you want to hear what she has to say today. Whether you have kids or not, it's going to help you. You know, one of the things that I learned with Kim, and, you know, a lot of other people too, but she was kind of a big deal in our journey to healing. And she taught me with Elijah, you know, when kids are struggling or they've been through a lot of times they can have outbursts or grief. They're called grief bursts and things like that. But to understand what we were going through, and she told me the best thing we can do when there's a grief burst is to calm you down. It wasn't the time for correction. And us as parents, I know we want to be the first one to get over there and correct, but there's a time and a place. And there was a time and a place for you. And, you know, when you were, you know, having a grief burst, you were in a thing called fight or flight, Elijah. So all the blood was in the back of his brain. And my whole job was to just calm him down and get him calmed down, and then we could work on whatever the issues were after that. There's a time and a place. So she's got a lot of really great information I wanted to bring forth to you, and I know this is a very tough time. We're all going through some interesting times, and Elijah has some great insight for the kids to listen to as well, and this coronavirus and how, you know, we're all just kind of, you know, there's some frustration and there's some feelings that we're having about it. And she's a great resource for us. So stay tuned, and she'll be right up next. Hey everybody, we have a huge announcement that we wanted to share with you. I have 2, not 1, but 2 of my board members. You've already met Rhodey Kate, as you can see her right there. Hi Rhodey. But guess what? This is our youth chair, Marcus Farrell. Hi, Marcus. Say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
We have a huge announcement. We are going to be reading the Bible together. May 25th on Memorial Day, which is really kind of fascinating. We're excited. It's going to be at 6 o'clock, but we want you to go to our website at icanfinishwell.com and check out the information. You want to invite the kids?
Yeah, and I really need all of the kids my age and all of those kids out there that are going through this to step up, and you really need to do this. It's something that'll change your life.
Yeah, putting God's word first. So we're looking for 2 things. We're looking for you to join in, but then we're also looking for the adults to step up and volunteer, and kids to step up and volunteer and help us read the word every night.
I think it's a great time for families to get together and read together. I think it's a great opportunity if you're alone to be able to have the word read to you so you can spend time with God in the evening as you're winding down. I think it's a great opportunity.
Pastor Marcus, you are a pastor, and I'm a pastor, and this comes straight directly from a shepherd's heart. Just the pure word of God spoken forth and read over the widows and the fathers, and read over families that are hurting, and read over it can be anybody, but, you know, we're inviting specifically everybody to come and participate and support our youth, all generations, widows, anybody that's hurting. But honestly, we're all hurting right now in this pandemic. Do you agree?
Yes, absolutely. Nothing like the Word of God to bring about healing.
Amen. Amen. And that's what this is all about at Elijah's Path to Healing Foundation. So we look forward to seeing you there. Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Dr. Kim Scipione. I know her as Kim, so I have to really concentrate because I call her Kim, because she has been a life. Gosh, it seems like we've known each other so long, Kim. I mean, we lived next to your mother for I don't know how long. And then once we lost Reed, and then I realized I needed some help, it was really kind of amazing. I actually felt led to call your mom, and I didn't know why. She goes, well, Kim, my daughter. And I went, oh my gosh, you're right. Kim is a licensed therapist and she does this. And so it was a natural for us to give you a call. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's so good to see Elijah all grown up.
Isn't it amazing? He's huge. So, and you've been a big part of our journey on our healing process. And, it's not an overnight thing. This is a marathon that you do, isn't it?
Yes. And I think that's the misconception that a lot of people tend to have, Tracy, that if you've had significant trauma, it's not going to go away in a few therapy sessions. And even if you have some things that are going on within you with their anxiety, depression, it's not going on. And so what with working with me is we do intensive work. We do oil changes, an oil change once or 3 months or sometimes longer just to see how you're doing. Sometimes it's just a check-in. I mean, there's been times where you and Elijah have just like sent me a little text message, hey, we're doing all right. Or, hey, I think we're ready for an oil change. And it'll come, or there's been times where you've left me a message and I call you back and you say, hey, this is going on. What are your thoughts? And I give you cute, like little tools. And then we just kind of go from there. And I say, follow up if this doesn't work. And you go, okay. But, I think that it is a marathon and it's a journey, and it's a journey that you're on. And when you've had kids with trauma, you need to also allow yourself to say, I don't have to solve all this on my own, and I can access the professionals. And if people find people they don't feel comfortable with, they found the wrong person. Because it's a therapeutic relationship. It's not, I'm the expert. I learn just as much from every patient that comes in my door as they may learn from me. And so if people don't feel that connection, find somebody you feel that connection with. And it should happen immediately. I mean, I can tell right away if somebody, I get them on the phone or there's an email and I'm like, And people need to take the time to do that because it is a journey and it's not a rush through. Yeah.
Well, and what would you say about, what if I'm comfortable with you, but Elijah isn't? What is that? How does that work? Or does that happen a lot?
Well, I think sometimes it does happen. I will say that oftentimes what I see happen is the teens will get really comfortable with me, and there's a jealousy factor that sometimes goes on with the parent. Like I want the relationship with my child the way that Kymberly has with them, and what they find is in time they will transfer that relationship. I can't imitate a parent. I'm only there once a week, maybe every other week. So I think the parent, though, if the parent has a gut feeling this isn't good, check it, what's that about? And if the kid doesn't connect, certainly don't continue. There are many people out there. Sometimes the parent will continue with me and then I find them. And the kids just need to be honest about that. Like, I go in there and I don't feel really good.
The parents need to listen, right?
Absolutely. Don't push it. Just because you like them doesn't mean that it's going to be a good fit for the kid. You will know. When kids, I hear stories all the time. Kids leave my office and it should feel like a comfortable place. It shouldn't be like, yay, we're going to go see Kymberly. The same as like Boondocks, but at the same time, it should be like, okay, let's go see Kymberly. Elijah, I don't think you ever felt like, oh, I don't want to go there. It was comfortable.
Right.
Sometimes I think, he enjoyed coming because it was a safe place to talk.
Well, yeah. I'm going to be honest. Sometimes he was really excited to go see you, and I'm like, okay, good. And sometimes he's like kicking and screaming, but I knew he needed it. And so you're right. He absolutely adores you, but sometimes he just wasn't, all in, and that's okay. But absolutely. I knew that you were this person for us, and that you were the safe person for us, just because of all the results that. And I just saw how he interacted with you, and he needed to have a voice with someone that was completely neutral. And we've had Dr. Larry Curry on the show, who's my mentor, and he says, they need a voice of someone neutral to talk to. Yes. Someone that's not have skin in the game and too close to this thing. Would you have anything more to add to that?
Well, I agree with him 100%. And, it's really interesting. I always think every kid needs somebody other than the parents. Even if you're the best parent, they need a coach, they need a personal trainer, they need a therapist, they need, a teacher, somebody that sees them in this world and can be there for them, a pastor, there may be a youth minister. The kids need somebody. And if they don't, you need to find them someone, because as much as you may have a great relationship with your child, they're going to grow, they're going to develop, they don't want to disappoint you, they want to talk about things, and if they have that safe adult, then they're more likely to have a success with that than going to their friends who may not give them the best advice.
Well, and I got to be honest, you were huge for me. You put me in my place, which is great because, well, if I'm not going there for you to be my yes person to tell me how wonderful of a parent I am, I'm actually going. And I want you all to, for the listeners that are listening right now, when you go to someone like Kim, you want them to be straight with you. You want them to challenge you. Do not get offended if they give you some really good constructive criticism. It's only to make your family unit better. It's not to offend you. It's not to say you're right or you're wrong. It's to help. And do you have anything else to add on that before I go to the next thing that I'm going to?
Well, I think
which is where you helped me.
when I was in graduate school, there was this great book called Love's Executioner, and it was by Yalom. And he said that our biggest job, if you really are doing your job, it's not to go along with the delusional thinking, it's to demystify it. And it's to be able to have the relationship that you can do that. It doesn't help the individual or the family if they just are repeating the cycle. But you have to be able to feel safe with the person to hear the words. So I'm thinking of a few things that we had to bring up on behalf of Elijah. And Elijah knew I was there for him. I was his person and I was his spokesperson. Yeah. And I'm so sorry you guys lost your dad. But your grandpa, remember him? He came in a couple times and he had to learn how, the way that he was taught to parent with a boy was not the same as it is now, especially a boy who had lost a father. And getting that feedback and saying it to your dad in a way that he could hear it without being defensive. And I think one of the biggest things, especially in being sexist for a moment, when you're working with fathers and grandfathers, to really bring in that biological model and get them to understand it from a neurobiological perspective rather than a feeling perspective. And I think we get a bigger buy-in and then move it. And I think that's how we were able to get grandpa to really buy in. Yeah.
So when you're talking about a neuro, explain that in layman's terms.
Understanding the brain development and what's going on to the individual from maybe the amygdala, a fight or flight response system, what's happening in that emotional area of the hippocampus. Rather than take it personal, say, what's going on for this individual from a physiological perspective? What's happening for them? And once we were able to do some really good work with Elijah around that and get him to understand, and for you as the adults to understand this is what's going on, and then he was able to communicate it, everybody seemed to just flow together, be in sync, right? Connect.
Thanks for saying that in English this time.
See? Yeah, and he's representing the kids going, what are you talking about? Example, fight or flight, and I just kind of talk about that.
Or another example, hippocampus. What the heck is an hippocampus?
Go ahead. There's one.
Visit.
Go ahead. Do what?
It's a cool college campus you get to go to.
Yeah.
So, Elijah, that's so funny. So there's a lot of times I work with kids, I just use basic terms and get them to, understand it. And every once in a while I'll have to do something like go to court, and then I'll have people say, I didn't know you could really do clinical things. I didn't know you really knew those terms. And it's like all of a sudden surprises them because that's not how you talk to people. No. So that's really funny because nobody's going to listen. But when it came to grandpa, I think it was important we did that because that's how we got grandpa to buy in. Like, hey, this is what's going on. Here's the neurobiological reasoning versus Elijah's being a brat.
Yeah. And speaking of that, anyway, I love you, but
I'm sure you do.
We were
deep down.
We were in your office one day, and I was having a specific issue with Elijah. And I remember you pulled me in ahead of the session, which sometimes you did and sometimes you didn't. You have your own, she has her way of doing things and it works. Let me just say that. And you can see that Kim is with Limitless Growth here in Denver. So we'll make sure that we have your information up on the screen, Kim, to make sure they can take advantage of checking in with you and see if this is something that they want to participate in.
And also I'm connected with so many wonderful people that, whether you're in Boulder or you're in, Littleton or you're in Aurora, I know good people. And so sometimes I'll say, I may not be the best person for you, but in fact, I think we did that with some of your friends and family too, Tracy.
We did, actually, yeah.
Yeah, because anybody who wants to be the one-stop shop, that's a red flag too.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Do you have a network across the United States? Because our viewers are nationwide.
I can point them in the right directions with the right people.
I'll have them just email the foundation, and then if they have questions, we'll just nip away at it at this time. But we were back in your office, and I was telling you about an issue that Elijah and I were having, and I told you my side of the story. And then you brought Elijah in, and he came in and he started playing. You usually had him do something with his hands, and just kind of had him do some things. And you asked him about it, and I'm never going to forget this because it was a game changer for me in this whole thing. And this was early on, right? And it was, you told your story, Elijah, and I looked at you after he spoke and said his side of what was happening in our situation. And I looked at you and I said, he's lying. That's not even close to what was happening. And you looked at me, Kim, and you said, you're both right. He has his perspective. You have yours. They're both right. And I'm going to be honest with you, that hit me right in the face. And you know what? It has changed my life as a parent, because I now realize that he has, and you know what? And he has his own perspective. So when something's going on with him, if I actually stop and say, honey, tell me what's going on with you, instead of just automatically put on my parent hat and have my little judgmental self and just pretend that I know what's going on, because I really don't. But if I take time to hear what he is saying and tell him, and he is to tell me what's going on, Kim, it makes perfect sense on why he's acting the way he's acting. I might not still like it, but at least I understand it, and I'm able to help him move through it. And you have anything else that you want to say to that?
Well, I think a really big part of that, Tracy, is, and you do this with couples a lot, they both have their perspectives, and whether you're in a relationship as a parent-child or a husband-wife or boyfriend-girlfriend or mother-daughter, whatever it is, it's important to learn to listen, not to respond. And that's what I see people. That's something that my husband, he and I have really worked on, that learning to listen and not just learning to respond, because that comes from a place of openness and I want to connect with you, versus I have my arm around like Iron Man and I'm ready to go to war. And really removing words like, this kid is lying. There's a reason why they believe the story in their perspective, and they think you're lying.
And it's all wrong.
I mean,
that's the way I felt.
Yeah.
It's just a different of opinion, and it's listening to listen, and it's also taking the time to understand versus, as you said, judge. Really understand what is it that this is provoking within them, right?
Exactly. And there was another time that I came into you, and did you want to say something else?
I'd say, kids in general really want approval and love and admiration from their parents, especially the adolescents. And that's something that we lose track of. Like, there's such pains in the butt. They are desperate for affirmation. They are desperate for us to love them. I mean, when my 14-year-old son's acting up, my instinct is to say, go to your room and stay away from me. And sometimes I have to take that time. Yeah, and sometimes you have to take that time out to calm yourself down. But they need you to go back in that room and say, you know what? I love you. I don't like the way you're acting right now, but you're important to me, so let's think about this. I love you, and I'm here.
Yes.
Because when we say, go to bed, stay away from me, get away from me, what's going on in your head? These are the things we hear a lot of, right? That is so devastating for that adolescent brain. They need our love. They need our attention. They need our support. They don't know why they did half the stuff they did. And they're just trying to figure out life, right?
Well, and and that is, bless Elijah's heart. We just lost Grandpa a few weeks ago. And I would say that we're kind of re-going through some things right now. And it's kind of, and I know it makes total sense. This is a big deal for Elijah right now, and myself for sure.
Yeah.
But, and then with this coronavirus, I wanted to bring up, right?
Yeah.
I wanted you to speak to the audience, because these kids they're struggling. I'm hearing from a lot of parents, and I know you are, because this is what you do, and I wanted you to make sure you shared your heart in this. And if there's any advice coming from you, I know I have mine, but I wanted them to hear from you today on what can a parent do to help our kids through this, because I know, Elijah, you've really, really vocalized how much this is hard to be able to have to stay home, and when you go out, put a mask on, and it's been very difficult for you, right?
There are times when I say, okay, the only reason I'm doing this is for my grandma. And then there are other times where I say, screw it, I'm just going to burn my mask.
Right, because you're frustrated. Yeah, exactly. And I get those feelings. Some days I want to burn my mask too, because I'm so upset that this is happening, but it is. So what do you have to say to our viewers that, oh my gosh, they're struggling, their kids, not even just if you don't have kids, I'm sure you're struggling too, but I would love for you to speak to the audience and let you kind of take the reins in this.
Sure. I think one of the things your audience needs to do is look at how you and Elijah just interacted with that situation. So you were both able to express yourselves, and you didn't say, Elijah, get over it. This is the way it goes. You're like, this stinks for me too. I want to do this too. I mean, as an adult, I think it's really important to express, I'm feeling really anxious about this. I'm feeling depressed about this. I'm confused about this. And being open and vulnerable to your kids, you don't have to know it all. In fact, you look worse when you try to claim you know it all when you don't know, because none of us know. No. And I think saying to Elijah, rather than saying, get over it, you're saying, this stinks, buddy. And if he says, I want to burn the mask, rather than saying, you shouldn't say those kind of things, you say, I feel like that too. I want to burn that mask. When I wear the mask, Elijah, I have to tell you, I have panic attacks. The whole time I'm wearing that mask, so this might be something for your viewers, I remind myself to breathe. And I mean, I do this in King Supers, and I tell myself, this is for the safety of the loved ones, and this is safety for people around me. And I just try and be calm and be grounded, and then go through the grounding exercises where you say, where are my feet? They're in my shoes. Where are my shoes? They're on the ground. What's beneath the ground? Concrete. It's grounded. I'm safe. I'm okay. I can wiggle my toes. I can feel my toes. That's a sign I'm okay. And really practice those exercises. I think that's the key. Parents, I would advise you, there was actually a bunch of psychs that got together and came up with some things that are really helpful. And one of the things is it's okay to pay attention to the news. Probably 3 times a day is your max. Morning, noon, night. And don't be watching CNN or Fox News, whatever your thing is, all day long. The kids are hearing that, no matter if they're 2 years old or they're 12 years old, they're hearing it. They don't need to have that constant exposure. It's not healthy. You need to come up with a family mantra or an individual mantra. It is what it is. We're doing the best we can. Hopefully we'll have more information today. Hopefully tomorrow, focus on the things, just have a mantra. And so you tell that to yourself while you breathe in and you breathe out. I think that it's strange if people aren't feeling anxious or depressed about this. That's more strange. It's
a red flag.
Normal. Let's normalize this. This is our world that we knew it is changing, and we don't know what that's going to be, and that provokes anxiety. I think there's a lot of blessing in those, though, Tracy. I do. I find that our families, so many of my families, they're like, oh, I can't bring them in for therapy because we have a soccer tournament that whole weekend. Oh no, they can't come in at this time because they have play rehearsal. It's forced us to slow down. Yeah. It's forced us to look at the beautiful, wonderful things about our children and embrace them and enjoy them. My daughter, she probably doesn't like this. I got a whole nother semester with her that I wouldn't have ever gotten because she had to come back from college. So selfishly, I'm like, I won the lottery, right? I won the parenting relationship lottery. And she's like, oh, I'm going back to Nebraska. Why would you want to go back to Nebraska? No offense to Nebraska. But I'm like, I got my daughter back. And I've actually had time with my kids. I mean, like I cook for them several times a day. There's a lot of beautiful greatness. I felt like my own life was, so busy and trying to balance out patience and my own children and, everything else, put my husband in there. But this has forced us all to just slow down. And I think we needed that as a country. I think we needed it as a culture. I think it was time that we put stuff in perspective. and just
Absolutely.
embrace the positive of this.
Absolutely.
What other time? It's so sad you guys lost your grandpa. That I don't want to minimize that. However, when else would you have had the time to actually be able to grieve, to actually be able to be there for grandma? I mean, there's a beautiful blessing in there. Grandma feels your love and your support, and it's constant versus, well, we'll be back in a couple hours. We'll be back tomorrow. I mean, this has been good for grandma. What other time would she have had this?
Exactly.
Yeah. And then my grandpa, he hated staying in the house every day, in and out, not be able to go everywhere.
Oh,
He loved getting out, going and doing stuff every day, and it's just like him to go out when he can't do something.
That's what my mom joked about at the funeral, kind of in her own way. Said, "Oh, Bill," they always had obstacles with their wedding, and their marriage was great. The wedding was horrible, but the wedding was great. The 25th anniversary trip was horrible, but the marriage was great. So she says, well, I guess, kind of perfect that he leaves them the coronavirus, but, she's joking around, you have to kind of keep it light. But then in all honesty, she said it's never a good time.
Wow, wasn't that amazing? I mean, jeez, she just gives such good advice.
She talks about the tune-ups. And, Elijah, you get a tune-up every once in a while, don't you?
Yep, I have to change my oil.
Yeah, we have to change your oil. And it's always good to have resources that God brings you into your life to help us through this thing that each and every one of us has to go through. I mean, grief is a process. It is not an overnight thing. It is something that we have to move through, and our relationship with Christ is the most valuable relationship that we have. But He brings these amazing people, and they help us make things better, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, we just thank you for watching, and we hope that you join us with our prayer and our Bible reading.
We all want to be caring people who give to others in their time of need, when they are most vulnerable. In order to do that, you need a personal, heartfelt way to reach out to someone when they lose a loved one. The problem is you don't know how to comfort her, your friend who has just lost her husband, a child who has just lost their daddy, and a little girl who's just lost her Gigi. They're happily ever after gone. As a believer, you know they are in a better place, but when you see your friends, your heart breaks. You feel powerless to help. At Elijah's Path to Healing, we understand their pain. We understand it because we lived through it. We also understand your frustration at not knowing what to say to them, what to do for them. We remember the days when our friends struggled too. This is why we created Surrounded by Love, a sweet blanket that they can wrap themselves in when the pain overwhelms them, because we know it will. A simple, beautiful gesture that reminds them that they are not alone and they are surrounded by love.